Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm so excited to welcome you to today's session. We're very excited during Adult Ed and Family Literacy Week. I am joining you live, actually from Rayburn Hall on the Hill. So COABE is live with our state advocate fellows, talking to legislators about the value of adult education. And what I find really interesting is that the legislators are asking for data. They're asking about the research. They want to know what we have that's supporting what we're saying about adult education. So this is very exciting. We're here talking about advancing adult education and workforce development outcomes through learner-centered, employer-focused research. So about us, the Coalition on Adult-Based Education provides leadership, professional development, advocacy, and communication to over 52,000 members nationwide. We are celebrating 25 years in the field. And I'm Sharon Bonney. I'm the Chief Executive Officer, and I'm excited to welcome you all to this. So why is research so important? Research is careful study and investigation for the purpose of discovery and explaining new knowledge. It is the collection of information about a subject of interest. Research enables exploration of different perspectives to address and inform important issues across various fields like healthcare, politics, and of course, education. So I wanted to say very quickly about COABE's current research projects. We have the journal, which is practitioner focused and published twice annually. It's a scholarly research journal. We have areas of study. So we currently have a longitudinal study of alumni of adult education programs. This is really being able to learn from our graduates of the adult ed programs, how it's helped them and changed their lives. And then we have a survey. So COABE had the Employer's Perception of High School Equivalency Survey, and you're going to hear more about that today. I also want to mention we partnered with the National Institute for Health on a survey of formerly incarcerated individuals as well. So with that, we have a fabulous lineup of presenters that I am very excited to introduce you to today. With me here, you see Ben Konruff, Dr. Ben Konruff. He is the State Director of Adult Education and Literacy Services in Wisconsin, and he is going to share about the project he's been working on. And then we are also going to see that Sarah Cacicio from the Barbara Bush Foundation for Literacy, who's going to introduce herself, and she runs All In, a collective impact network. And then Samantha Smith, Center of Workforce Innovations there in Indiana, and she also serves on our board of directors. So Ben, I'll turn it over to you to share about integrated education and the great work that you're doing there in Wisconsin.
Thank you, Sharon.
Stop sharing my screen. Go ahead.
Yeah. Can you see?
Can't see it yet, no. So while Ben is pulling that up, if you want to introduce yourself and put your name in the chat box, that would be great.
You able to see now, Sharon?
Looks great, Ben. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. I want to start with a note of gratitude to COABE for providing an opportunity to present, and also a thank you to you all for taking time out of your busy schedule to join today's presentation. What I'll be sharing is one of the ways Wisconsin's adult education program is making direct connections to career pathways, college credentials, and the workforce through integrated education and training, which I'll refer to as IET. What I will share is a foundational understanding of the term IET for folks who maybe are new to it, our approach to scaling IET within Wisconsin, and then also some recent research confirming the success of our IET investment and implementation within our state. So let's start with just an overview of IET. So the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA regulations, define IET as a service approach that provides adult education and literacy activities concurrently and contextually with workforce preparation activities and workforce training for a specific occupation or occupational cluster for the purpose of educational and career advancement. So within an IET, there are three required components. Adult education and literacy activities really include the bread and butter of instructional support, provided by adult education providers. This might include English language acquisition, reading, writing, and math skill building. And then the next component, workforce preparation activities, go beyond teaching someone how to interview or develop a resume or dress for success. Workforce preparation activities, in fact, outline the skills needed to be successful on the job or in other post-secondary education and training opportunities. These activities might support building critical thinking skills, digital literacy skills, and self-management skills, and other employability skills that increase an individual's preparation for the workforce. And then finally, the third required component is workforce training for specific occupational skills learners need to be employed for a particular occupation or occupational cluster. So a key feature of IET is the integration of the three IET components. The WIOA regulations provide additional guidance to how integration occurs across the three required components. First, WIOA requires that each component of an IET program must be of sufficient intensity and quality. So one way to ensure sufficient quality is to base it on the most rigorous research available, particularly with respect to improving reading, writing, mathematics, and English proficiency of eligible individuals. In addition, the three IET program components must be provided concurrently and contextually, meaning that the adult education and literacy activities, workforce preparation, and then finally the workforce training activities occur simultaneously within the overall scope of the IET program and use occupationally relevant instructional materials to contextualize the adult education and literacy standards being taught. And then finally, the integration of the three components must result in an IET that is part of a career pathway and should support local, state, and workforce development board plans. So a comprehensive way to really demonstrate integration across the three IET requirements is through the development of a single set of learning objectives. These integrated learning objectives really illuminate how adult education and literacy activities, workforce preparation activities, and workforce training function concurrently and contextually. Further, the single set of learning objectives articulate what IET learners will know and be able to do after successful completion of the IET program. And then finally, the integrated learning objectives will be valuable to instructors delivering the IET because they will provide guidance on instructional planning and delivery. Let's take a look at an example of an IET program here within Wisconsin. So this is an example of an IET offered within our home state of Wisconsin at Mid-State Technical College. The IET is aligned with the welding occupation, and participants who complete the IET are awarded a short-term welding technical diploma that is industry validated by local employers, providing that direct pipeline to employers in the workforce. And within the IET, the adult education faculty and workforce training faculty within the welding program work together to collaboratively design learning materials, instructional assessments, and deliver instruction through team teaching. Adult education faculty integrate mathematics instruction within the welding workforce training curriculum to really strengthen success and instructional mastery. And then in addition, the faculty integrate a series of workforce preparation activities that are contextualized to the actual welding occupation. So those three required components are coming together within this IET. And then as previously shared, IET requires a single set of learning objectives. These learning objectives, again, help to demonstrate integration across the three required IET components. So on the screen, you can see an example of an integrated learning objective. This represents just one that would be in a series of learning objectives. From the example, you can see that there's the three components: workforce training on the left, adult education and literacy skills in the middle, and then the workforce preparation content on the right, which is clearly documented and it connects to the actual integrated learning objective. So again, this content comes together to form the presented integrated learning objective and demonstrates clear connections to employment and the workforce. So IET participation at the macro level, when we look across the nation, has been growing. The figures that you see on the screen have been drawn from the National Reporting System. In the first year of IET data collection in program year 2016-17, over 23,000 participants accessed IET across the nation. If we fast forward to program year 22-23, we can see this number increase to over 51,000 participants, representing an increase of over 27,000 more participants accessing IET over that period. So this means that over 51,000 learners eligible for adult education services gained access to a career pathway towards additional education or a job, providing a direct connection between adult education and the workforce. Within Wisconsin, the inherent connection IET provides between adult education and the workforce aligns well with our technical college system's history of career pathways. So our career pathways model really creates an efficient student-centered approach to education and training and is designed to meet a student where they are and guide them through the learning and credentialing journey with the resources they need to arrive where they want to be. So for us, IET is an on-ramp in career pathways to college credentials and the labor market. Learners can build their skills through IET, earn degrees, and obtain employment, which benefits the learner, the community, and the workforce. Because of IET's salient connection to career pathways and clear alignment to our technical college system's philosophy of education for employment, our Wisconsin Technical College System office, where I work, and state providers of adult education have invested significant resources to support IET expansion. So to support the statewide IET expansion, the Wisconsin Adult Education Program has really prioritized four main drivers. These include data and research, policy, fiscal investment in IET, and professional development. In addition, across all of these areas, we prioritize equity and access and success within IET. Today, though, I'm going to share one of our statewide research projects, which are part of a series focused on IET. So the research that I'm going to share is titled Integrated Education and Training, a Mechanism to Enhance Student Success and Achieve Institutional Goals. As our local providers have been implementing IET over the last several years, we've heard at the state level a number of stories detailing local successes. The reason we conducted the statewide study was really to generalize the culminating positive effects detailed in all of the stories we have been hearing from our local providers. Essentially, we wanted to summatively evaluate the success of our statewide expansion efforts to better understand if they were working by ensuring IET is providing successful on-ramps to college degrees, which are industry validated. If true, we would have greater confidence that our approach to IET expansion was successfully building connections between adult education and career pathways. So the research I conducted is quantitative in nature and investigated the relationship between participation in integrated education and training and a series of shorter-term, interim, and longer-term student outcomes over 2 years, including completing college credits in the first semester, second-year persistence, achieving a cumulative GPA of a 2.0 or greater, and attaining a college credential within 2 years. So the research methods I used included the use of propensity score matching to create a balanced sample, logistic regression analysis, and sensitivity analysis. I generated a sample that included a treatment group of learners in IET and then a control group of learners enrolled in adult education and workforce training in the same semester who did not participate in a comprehensive integrated education and training program. So essentially, the second group did not benefit from the occupational contextualization of adult education that IET programming provides. So statistical results revealed that students participating in IET programs are more likely to complete college credits in the first semester, persist to the second year, achieve a cumulative GPA of 2.0 or higher, and complete a WTCS credential compared with similar adult education students who did not access IET programs. So when tracked over the 2-year study period, IET students in the match sample earned a total of 7,971 credits that count towards a college credential, while the similar comparison group earned 6,859 credits. That's represented in the bottom left visual. That surplus of over 1,000 credits earned among IET learners within the match sample demonstrates the promise of IET in supporting colleges to achieve institutional enrollment goals, but also the incremental progress and milestones that students need to achieve to complete a credential and potentially enter the workforce. In addition to producing more credits earned, the group of IET learners were awarded more WTCS credentials. So within the match sample, students enrolled in IET programs were awarded 295 credentials during the 2-year study period, while the similar comparison group not enrolled in IET were awarded 114 credentials. So the difference of 181 awarded credentials further demonstrates the promise of IET in aiding colleges to achieve not only their local goals, but also has potential economic implications. More specifically, IET is a lever for accelerating degree completion towards employment and meeting those regional workforce needs. And then finally, students enrolled in IET programs had an increased likelihood of achieving a cumulative GPA of a 2.0 or higher during the 2-year study period compared with like students. So descriptive statistics reveal that the median cumulative GPA among the IET group was 3.3, while the comparison group was 2.8. So this difference of about 0.5 GPA points, again, not only demonstrates the promise of IET to support achieving college student success goals, but also has implications for mastery of learning and transferability of skills and future employment. So when taken together, the results of my study have significant implications. First, the results suggest our state's IET expansion efforts appear to be working. IET is proving to be an effective on-ramp for adult education learners to career pathways. Further, the results have important implications for expansion and investment. More specifically, adult education and literacy providers, 2-year colleges, and stakeholders who benefit from IET should invest in the expansion of these programs because they are a strategy to achieving organizational goals and provide learners with clear pathways to college credentials, the workforce, and upward economic mobility. Given the clear connections between IET and the workforce, investment in IET is prime for employers. Through employer investment, organizations can provide a direct influence on the workforce pipeline to their organization and address their immediate and future workforce needs through IET. If you're interested in reading more about our research findings, I'll plan to put a link to the chat to our action research brief that includes all of the content and all the interesting statistics within it. I'm going to stop sharing, and now I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, my colleague in our panel, for the next presentation. Sarah, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you so much. And I also want to reiterate Ben's gratitude to COABE. It's been really exciting to kick off Adult Education and Family Week with this webinar. So thanks everybody for joining. I know there's a lot of exciting events. Just confirming everybody can see my slides. So if you're not familiar, All In, we are the Adult Literacy and Learning Impact Network that is convened by the Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy. So All In is a network of 14 national organizations that are leading and advancing adult and family literacy. COABE is one of our members, as well as World Education, TESOL, National Center for Families Learning, National Coalition for Literacy, Jobs for the Future, and others. And we recognize that while all of us are doing incredible work on our own to advance literacy, together we could accomplish much more. So we're working on several initiatives together, including building awareness, advocacy, advancing research, as in small grants and other efforts, and working in some regional areas to create kind of cross-sector models for advancing literacy in communities. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about our employer research on topic for the day. We funded last year in collaboration with FTI Consulting a broad research project that looked at the perspectives about adult literacy among 500 employers, all different size employers, as well as 200 policy influencers. And the project is called Advancing Adult Literacy, Mobilizing Business in the Beltway. I'll also drop the link to the research in the chat, but feel free to scan this to access the full reports. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about what we found in that research. So in terms of, I'm not going to go too into depth with the policy influencers, but interestingly enough, policy influencers grossly underestimated the scale of the challenge. We now know that a little over 50% of adults in the US struggle with foundational reading skills at the 6th grade level, and 1 in 5 are not able to do anything more than read simple texts and interpret information. So we recognize that this is such a huge issue impacting, over 40 million adults in the United States. And to our surprise, employers really recognize the scale of the challenge. So we surveyed 500 employers, as I mentioned, to really understand what they know about this issue, how it's impacting their work. And in conducting the survey, FTI focused specifically on industries that tend to employ people who struggle with low literacy skills, such as logistics and transportation, retail and consumer goods, wholesale and distribution, and food and bev, and restaurants. And so we looked at medium and large companies. We had, mid-level senior executive, but also people that work directly with learners. So onboarding, hiring, and supervisors, as well as hiring managers and employers. And so that was kind of the, quick methodology. What we found is that adult literacy is really, employers recognize that this is a major issue in their organizations, and they perceive the meaning of adult literacy to be basic reading and writing skills, comprehensive written material, functional literacy. So some of these foundational skills that we know are interconnected with so many other skills that may be needed on the job, other workplace literacies, financial literacy, and digital literacy, for example. So 94% of the employers surveyed recognize that this is a real issue, with 40%, so 4 in 10, saying this is a major widespread problem in our organization. It's estimated that low literacy is resulting in billions lost every year in revenue. And again, keep in mind, this is only among 4 industries. The Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy, in collaboration with Gallup, had an economic impact study a few years back that estimated we're losing on an annual basis $2.2 trillion, right? So just in the survey with these 4 industries among 500 employers, estimated about $46 billion in lost revenue due to low literacy. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So nearly 1/3 of the employers surveyed felt that a lot of their employees didn't have the minimum level of literacy required to effectively do their jobs. And we did provide, just so everybody is aware, the PAC definition of literacy at the front end, which is a lot of verbs, right? It's beyond reading levels, but really making sure people understand, can evaluate, make sense of the written material. And so one of the biggest areas where they saw this was in the food and bev restaurants. I worked in restaurants for 10 years. Restaurants, like any other industry now, requires a lot of digital skills, for example, and And people really do need a lot of foundational reading and digital skills in every position. You can see on the right hand here, we also have some focus group learner experiences that we conducted through focus groups. So a lot of people recognize that, you know, their literacy levels were impacting their experience. In one case, a learner said, you know, I was offered a promotion, but didn't take it because of the number of emails I might have to respond to. On that note, we also, employers said that low literacy prevents some employees from realizing their full potential, but also could disrupt the work morale among different members of their, other employees, because some employees maybe had to work harder or support or create workarounds for people that were struggling with their foundational skills, and felt that they might have to compensate for that. So employers do recognize that this is an issue that needs to be addressed. They also recognize that people have a lot of potential and want to help their employees realize that potential, but weren't necessarily sure how. Navigating digital tools, to no surprise, was one of the constant top challenges for employees across the industries that I mentioned before. So using digital tools for each of these industries was absolutely fundamental. My own father actually got his GED and most of college while in prison. And when that's another story for another webinar, another time. But when he got out, you know, he was working in logistics and transport and struggled with that handheld digital device, you know, that he had to use to navigate mapping and getting around. And we see that over and over again. Every industry now requires digital tools, and people, if they don't have the literacy skills, the digital skills, you know, this can really become a struggle for their ability to promote, but also it affects the employer. So employers are stepping up to the mark. I think many years ago, many people said, you know, employers don't really care about this issue. They'll continue to hire, you know, other people. But now I think employers more and more recognize, no, they need to invest in this issue, and it's to the benefit of their company, but also to their staff. So a lot of employers are, you know, promoting an environment where employees feel comfortable asking for help. But many of us who have worked in direct service and directly with adult learners know that's not enough, right? Beyond creating a kind of environment, there needs to be explicit supports for people to develop those skills that are needed on the job. Other employers mentioned, you know, offering resources in multiple languages, which is a good start. Offering some literacy trainings or classes, that was about 35%, right? So we're seeing, you know, some evidence that employers are starting to address this issue, but they recognize they can't do this on their own. So everybody out there, you know, should be thinking about, how can we engage employers in this process to really support and integrate adult literacy skills on the job, right? Close to 40% want to be highly involved in advancing literacy, which for us was very promising. And 48% said, yeah, they would like to be somewhat involved, right? So that's a really large showing for employers that want to be part of the solution. But they recognize they can't do it alone. They want to work with community organizations, local governments, local colleges. This really does need to be a cross-sector effort to advance literacy. So it can't be employers on their own solving this, but we need to all work together. And the very last piece I'll share is that we conducted market research with policy influencers, which I'm happy to share more about at a later date. Employers, which I gave you a little high-level piece of today. And now we're currently working on this piece that is so needed, the adult learner market research. So for the next phase of the work, we've teamed up again with FTI Consulting, and we are conducting a large-scale study among adults who are eligible but not enrolled in adult education to better understand their experiences, their challenges, but also their aspirations, right? What kind of learning do they want to do? What kinds of modalities are they interested in learning in, and where are they trying to advance their skills? And so our work, builds on some really key findings from previous work by Dr. Margaret Patterson, Florida Literacy Coalition, and others that really has worked to understand the experiences of people who are not enrolled in services, including digital literacy. So you get a sneak preview of some of the findings. While our large-scale survey is currently underway for over 2,000 learners, these are the results of our preliminary focus group. I found the top left, one of the most interesting is that potential learners across all generations use technology heavily. So even adults with very low literacy skills, and by the way, this was conducted via phone, via Zoom, and via text, right? So we're using multiple modalities to reach learners, potential learners as well. And almost every person that we have communicated with says, yes, I use technology heavily. It's just different ways that they're using it to support their literacy skills, whether it's text to speech or, using WhatsApp, different things, but people are using it. And ideally they're looking for, self-paced learning, as well as some hands-on teaching methods. But most adults that are not enrolled but need services say, a kind of a flexible modality is the most important. And the last I'll leave you with is two things, is that the number one barrier is not necessarily transportation or childcare, although those kinds of things did come up, but it's low awareness and cost. So many people that we have connected with do not know that there are free adult education programs out there. And the second piece is almost everybody thought if there were programs, they would cost money, right? So the marketing that we do as providers is just so critical to this space for both learners directly, but also for employers, right? To understand, hey, we're here, we could be part of this solution. And finally, many, many people that we connected with, adults that are not enrolled, but that do struggle with literacy, they want to improve their skills, right? So the motivation is there for all the adult learning theorists out there, motivation still one of the primary factors for success in education as an adult. So the motivation is there. They want to inspire their families. They want to boost their confidence, and they want to advance. And we're excited that this research shows employers, they're kind of wanting to be part of that solution as well. So thank you so much. I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Samantha to share some of her research, and I'll drop the research in the chat, and would love to. Thank you.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samantha Smith, and I am the Director of Adult Education for Center of Workforce Innovations in Northwest Indiana, always called CWI. We are the workforce intermediary for Region 1, where we are supporting adult learners or just individuals who are interested in moving forward with their lives in the areas of workforce training, and for the purpose of today's conversation, in adult education. I'm excited about the work that CWI is doing, as we have put a huge focus on adult education and our adult learners as the foundation for any type of training, post-secondary opportunities, just the opportunity to be able to move forward in their lives as they change their families and change the landscapes of their futures. So the research project that I've been honored to be a part of through the Innovations Committee, through COABE, focused on the employers. What are the employer perceptions of the high school equivalency? We were able to implement a survey to employers across the nation about 2020, 2021. And what I like the most about surveys is the fact that not only does it solicit the facts, like it gives you the hard numbers that you can move forward with and that you can build from, but it also gives you a chance to get the feelings of the employers or whoever's taking the survey. You can get the feelings behind that as well. We know the importance of facts. We have to, we get hard data as it relates to how we are going to support adult learners. But I believe it's also important to get the feelings of those that we are connected to and working with, and most importantly, connecting our students with for future career opportunities. So when it comes to the background of this particular survey, it was launched nationwide. And as you can see from the graphic, it literally went from coast to coast, north to south. We had certain states where we got a tremendous feedback, primarily in California. And then I think the more overarching or the broader responses were coming from the states that are indicated in blue, quite a few of them, and then a few less responses from the states that are indicated in green. But nonetheless, it was an exciting opportunity to get the feedback from employers from across the nation. The amount of employees represented, I think, was also important because this allowed us to capture the feedback from companies that varied in size. So as you can see by the chart, our green areas are the states where at least 10,000 or so employees were surveyed or they were represented through those survey responses. We had one state, Washington State, that had 60 to 80,000 employees represented. Again, a good mix of the feedback that we needed in order to move forward with the results from the survey. So outside of the in addition to that background information, you can see again how it was spread out as far as the types of responses that we received from the surveys that we implemented. And again, across the bottom, the number of the surveys, the number of employees from where the surveys were launched. Now, this is the part of the survey that I feel like was most important. So I used to tell my staff, wow, numbers don't lie. They definitely don't tell the whole story. And so the numbers that we were able to get from the survey help support the story of the employer. How is it that adult education can be elevated in the minds of our employers? If we think about it, there is a stigma tied to adult education and adult learners. And so this survey allows us to bring awareness, I believe I heard Sarah mention, and also for us to really educate our employers on how adult education is serving these adult learners. So 86% of our respondents, as it relates to, excuse me, the requirements for having a high school diploma, hands down, it was a yes. They want to know that the individuals that they're hiring or considering for employment have that high school diploma. Obviously, many employers, they don't want to see individuals come into their companies and not have those foundational skills. And then we had a few who were unsure about how they wanted to, take on new employees. As far as the way that our data was pulled is that we sent this survey out to employers again across the nation to ensure we had a good mix of individuals that were again in those positions to make hiring decisions as it relates to who they were bringing on to their company. The requirements for any business obviously vary by employer, right? But at the end of the day, all employers want to know that those foundational skills are in place, and that foundational skill is usually indicated by that credential, the high school equivalency. Now, when it came to the preference, this is where I think it got really interesting. Most people don't understand that the high school equivalency is just that. It is equivalent to a traditional, traditional diploma. What has been sad, at least in my experience in adult ed, has been that the high school equivalency is looked down upon, and it's not considered an equal opportunity for individuals to advance, whether it's in a career or if it's in enrollment into school or opportunities beyond high school. And so we do have for question 5, does your business have any preference in hiring for a traditionally earned high school diploma over the alternate or equivalency? And again, it lists the GED, the HiSET, or the National External Diploma Program. Well, again, numbers don't lie, but they don't tell the whole story. While there was a large amount of responses that indicated yes, the comments were really important in supporting the feedback that we were able to receive from these from the surveyors. So some of the comments included that the preference would depend upon the position maybe that they were hiring for. Also, that while the traditional high school diploma is preferred, the HSE is still accepted. Now, that is really important. I think that's crucial because that is a way for adult education to be able to really stake its claim on what it is that we do, the work that we do with our adult learners, and how we're still able to get adult learners ready for career opportunities. In addition, some additional comments include having a college degree, and I'm sure that would still depend on the position that they were hiring for, and the fact that there are some roles that may not require, at least in the mind of the employer, that high school equivalency. Now, this is where we got some really great feedback as far as the perception of quality of work produced from an adult learner or individual who received their HSE. And a resounding yes is that they really did see the difference in the quality of work produced by an individual that received their GED. 62% said yes, and I think the most impactful statement was that people who have recently earned a GED tend to have better skills all around. I've heard it stated many times in my career that there is a grit, there is a work ethic of someone who is brave enough to return to the classroom and pursue their high school equivalency or their GED, because we don't know what the barrier was that may have kept them out of the classroom. And so when they take the initiative to come back into our programs, it just shows something about them, about their persistence and their drive. And what this particular part of the survey is saying is that those type of skills, that type of initiative is spilling over into the employer place. So like I said, this particular question really does give us an idea of what an employer sees when they encounter someone who has gotten their GED. Now, most interesting, if you think about an employer who's hiring for any position, some people think it's the credential. They have to have the bachelor's degree or the master's degree, or they're thinking that that's what the employer is thinking. Well, according to our survey results, the skills that matter most to employers are soft skills that include teamwork, communication, punctuality. I know that's something that I've heard myself, where it's really important that employees know that it's important to be on time. And so employers are saying soft skills are most important to them. Next in line would be the industry recognized career skills training and the digital literacy skills. These are the results that came out of the survey. And it's important to note, I think, that the story that this tells to adult education is we are on track with the work that we are doing. Soft skills is a part of the IET portion, as my colleague Ben mentioned earlier. And the fact that this is something that we are incorporating within our industry for adult learners is huge, because we see here that these are the skills that our employers are actually looking for and want in someone that they will hire. Another important aspect of our survey are the employer accommodations, or willingness to have certain accommodations for adult learners. There's a statistic that was released through COABE that said there are 2,000 plus boots on the ground grassroots organizations that are delivering adult education services. Well, the partnerships that can be developed from those programs with employers to provide such accommodation as adjust their schedules to support their class times, providing financial assistance so that individuals don't have to miss out on work in order to be able to go to class. Most importantly, which got the most results, the higher responses, was the increase in pay upon the completion of a high school equivalency. I recently worked with a business service representative who was working with a client that did not have their high school equivalency. And the company assured them that if they finished this within a certain amount of time, they were not only insured a job, but a bump in their wages and other opportunities that are tied with getting this foundational credential. So employers have a great opportunity in partnering with all of our adult learning centers, all of our adult education programs across the nation. And they're indicating here the accommodations that they are willing to make for adult learners in order for them to be successful. And at the end of the day, when you have a successful employee, that translates into a successful company. So they're really just investing in the future and the health of their own companies. Now, as we look at data collection and research for the future, the amount of focus groups and the respondents that came out of this study was staggering. I know that there are other opportunities that are being discussed now to do more data collection with our employer partners and our regional and state employers, and regional and national employers. And so the focus groups allow conversations to happen. They allow, again, more data to be shared. And most importantly, they allow for continued awareness to our employers so that they understand that they are really getting a product out of an adult learner that is tested, that is sound, and that is based off of really intentional services from our adult education community. Now, according to the Workforce Connections Continuum from the Career Learning Center, it literally gives a path of how our adult learners navigate this entire process. We want students to feel that the HSC is not the final stop on the journey, so to speak. And so we have individuals who, as the graphic indicates, that might need just to brush up and get better, maybe skill up as far as their skills for literacy and numeracy. Then you have those who need to get that foundational credential. But from there, it goes on, because for many, it is really about the end game, securing long-term employment or enrolling into post-secondary in order to go into lifelong learning. I know that is a phrase that we use throughout the industry, but it's really true. Once students come to our programs and they see the opportunities in front of them, they get a chance to experience the different supports that adult education programs across the nation provide, they are able to move forward throughout this continuum of supports in order to really change their lives. This particular graphic is focused on the high-wage jobs in the Rapid City area, but this could be any of our cities, any of our towns, the journey that all of our students can go on in order to change their lives as it relates to adult education. So really grateful for the opportunity to be able to share or really just participate, first of all, in the data collection and in the study. Kudos to my peers today, Sarah and Ben. Thank you for just COABE coming around us and supporting the work that is being done out in the field. And COABE now has some calls to action for you. As you continue in your work, whether you are new to the field or you are a veteran, encourage your alumni in your graduating class of 2025 to participate in COABE's Alumni Longitudinal Study. Again, this is just another opportunity to collect data, to find out what students are doing after the fact, to see what the impact of the adult education industry and programming has been for their lives, and to see how we can continue to serve them once they leave our programs. Next, consider writing for the journal or becoming a journal subscriber. Practitioners nationwide have the best methods and best practices, and they should be shared. We will all grow together as we learn together, as we all together support adult learners across the nation. Next, participate in studies out in the field of adult education. There may be times that COABE will reach out or send out, again, another call to action saying that, we need your help. Give us your feedback. Be the one to respond to those emails and be the one to respond to those opportunities. And last but not least, share the research that you have learned today. Maybe something you heard today is going to help fuel the work that you're doing or the work of someone else within the industry, but definitely share what you have learned today. Thank you again for this opportunity, and I'll pass it off to my colleague, Sarah.
Thank you. We just wanted to open it to everybody who may have questions in the chat, or if you want to, I'm not sure if they can unmute actually, but there may be, feel free to add any questions you may have or in the Q&A or directly in the chat that we could answer. Looks like there's one question maybe for Samantha about a link for to the survey that students were able to complete. So was there any, I think Ellen asked, I believe that was for Samantha.
Is she referring to the graduate survey from COABE? I believe maybe that's what she's referring to. So what we can do is, once this presentation is over, we can have that link included maybe in the follow-up to all of the attendees. But I do know that COABE regularly sends that out in the newsletter where graduates can join the alumni study. And Ms. Lindsay just put it in the chat.
I'm not seeing anything in the Q&A. There's a question, are we going to get the recording? I'm not sure, Lindsay, if you're able to answer that in the chat. All right, yes, the recording will be sent out and available on the AEFL week page webpage later today. AEFLA week page later today. Any other questions?
Well, thank you, everybody. It was a great turnout. It's a super important topic. We know Tuesday afternoon, can be a sluggish moment. So we really appreciate everybody getting together to talk about this. I know I learned a lot, so I'll be following up with Samantha and Ben as well to keep the conversation going offline. But the more we can, keep these connections happening and understanding what each other is doing, the better. So it's been great participating in this.
Great. Thank you all.